and welcome to another episode of Buzzworthy, a podcast brought to you by the Hive Incubator, a place where your dreams take flight. My name is Timnoloa, and I'll be your guide to navigating the exciting world of startups, of innovation, of entrepreneurship. If you feel like this is your vibe, if you feel like this is your space, don't forget to like, share, and follow for more. And if you are watching us from YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So before we get started, I'd like to play a little game that I would like to call Would You Rather. So now, would you rather have really smooth traffic for a month and have terrible internet connection? Or would you rather be stuck in traffic? I'm talking terrible traffic, 1 to 2 hours a day. Keep in mind you work a 9 to 5, but have perfect internet connection. So let me know what you think in the comment section, and you never know, we could feature you on our next episode of Buzzworthy. Whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's talent, whether it's tools. Managing your resources as a startup founder is really, really essential in your business, either scaling or going down. And today we have an amazing person with us that will be talking on more with less, scaling smart, not hard. He is a financial specialist, he is a business project manager, and he is Mr. Areo Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. It's so nice to have you here today.
Nice to hear.
I feel like I could only try to introduce you, and I feel like I would not do justice to it. Could you please introduce yourself to us?
I think you will do justice anyways. Then we continue. My name is Emmanuel. I have led a few businesses before. I ran a support school system 2018 to 2019 initiative, and I am a team lead at an AI tech firm. Also, I run a clothing business. That's what I do, and that's what I am right now.
Okay. So now, just in case you haven't heard, Emmanuel has like this amazing clothing line that I'm always on their page. I'm not even going to lie, and I'm pretty sure they deliver worldwide. It's Ascent, and if you like to check them out on Instagram, if you want to be like me, that's always on their page. Check them out at ascent.dtb. They have amazing wares, and I'm very sure that you'll find something that you certainly want. Okay, Emmanuel, moving on. When we talk about you have like several businesses, you've done like quite a lot. I like we're just trying to be humble when you introduce yourself, if we're being honest. Um,
Maybe not.
you were honestly, because I made my research honestly, and when we talk about like resources, trying to founders trying to manage things, or like this scarcity thing, what type of, let's even start from basics. What type of resources do you think that founders need or founders utilize in their startups?
I think it starts from people. It's most times the idea that people have is going to be managing money. So, which is also part of it. Finance is important, but I think people people control where money goes. So I think people, yeah, human resources are the first and the most important resource that any CEO, any startup leader has to focus on. If he's able to manage the people with him and the customers who are also people, I think that would also lead to financial flow. So people, finances, tools that they might also use, and time are some important resources that any startup needs to focus on.
Hmm. Okay. When you said people, I was like, I think we're going to say money first. Because once I don't think about resources, it's money. We think, once I have like $1 million, I can do whatever it is that I want. But yeah, I think people are really important. Because if you have $1 million and you don't have the right people managing the money, it's only a matter of time before it becomes 1,000.
People give money value. Without people, money is not value.
I can't remember the person that said it, but I remember reading it in a book somewhere where the person was like, the best way to become wealthy. I'm not sure I'm saying it right. I'm just trying to paraphrase. Was having like 1,000 hours per day.
Okay, yeah. I've heard that people use that especially for Dangote. They imagine how many people drive his trucks, how many people. So he has expanded his 24 hours to be way more than 24 hours. And then he's more effective because more people work fine.
Because eventually, when you think about it, even he might just be chilling somewhere. Yeah. And his 24 hours is not even part of the 1,000 hours that we're talking about. Yeah. So people really do always come in handy. Um, but now, like, moving on, yeah, I have these resources, I have everything. What's like a major resource drain? Like, what do you think is one thing that a lot of founders do that sort of, should I say, eventually they realize they wasted their resources, it drains everything eventually.
I think since we started from people, we can also start from people management and not managing people well, especially in this culture that we're in. Not making people as effective as possible, productive as possible, can lead to major drain, especially if we're not able to manage their time. Because here we know that everybody works 9 to 5, but the average person that goes to work within that 9 to 5 knows how many hours he spent working and how many hours he did not spend working, right? And so if as a startup CEO, or if as a startup leader, likes to use leader, if as a startup leader you are not able to manage, if you're not people centric in the managing of productivity, it will lead to major drains. Then money, because when money comes into our hands, sometimes we use it for the most unnecessary things. We're not, and in fact, we pursue money at the wrong time. So I've worked with someone before, really great man, and he confided in us at a point and said his major mistake in business was that he raised funds too early. So he raised funds when the product was not ready, when he had not understood the market. And so money was spent on research rather than scaling. And that can be a very, very major mistake, because at that point, investors don't trust you again because you've mismanaged that resource, people and money.
Okay. Okay, I feel like I'm learning because if you had asked me, I'd have said that you need money to start anything. That's honestly what I would have said. But now that I think about it, yeah, you're right because hmm. Okay, yeah, yeah, actually yeah.
Because sometimes people can work somewhere even when money is not involved. It happens all the time. People volunteer. People are passionate about things that are more important to them than money. And so sometimes when it comes to managing people, you want to be sure that their motivation and the motivation of the organization matches, because that means they are working for passion much more than for a salary. Yeah. So people way more.
Important thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on, honestly, we also talk about money. I like money, sorry. But now let's say a business here, they have just like 6 months runway and they do if they continue managing their resources the same way they have been managing their resources since they started, they will die in 6 months, they will crumble in 6 months, like drastically crumble. What's the first thing you think that you would tell them to do?
That's a very hard question, because now it's like I'm on the spot. But I remember listening to Bill Ibels. It was at Excellence in Leadership, one leadership events that was hosted by Samadiem years ago. And I learned something very crucial I will never forget. He said, how long does it take an organization to get into crisis? And statistically, every organization will get into crisis in about 5 years. Some form of crisis, whatever it is. And he was saying, what's the most important thing that organization needs at the point where it's in crisis? People said all kinds of things, but he said reserve funds, because reserve fund helps you to buy time to figure out the plan. The truth is that for every challenge, for like the 6 months challenge that you just mentioned, we can't give a very straight answer, because it's going to be dependent on the kind of issue that organization is going through at the same time. We have to get data to be sure what the issue is, what exactly the issue is, and not what we are guessing the issue is, right? And in that period, you might need reserve fund that is kept so that you settle everything that is unnecessary and you have enough time to figure out a plan. So my answer is more about before that thing happens than when that happens. And the idea is to anticipate that a challenge will happen in 5 years, every 5 years. And it is better to keep some resources, save something, such that when you call this reserve funds, so that when that time comes, there will be enough time to figure out a plan.
Mm. And for us, like you mentioned something regarding data. So it's like for you to even figure out a plan, you need like good data, you need like solid data from like years back. It's not just be like, like, oh, what did we do wrong? When we did this, why did this happen? Why was this mismanaged? And all that. So I think that we should actually data is really, really important. Creating regular reports.
Yeah, we really do that here. We really do that here when someone leads a startup. is more concerned about how much you are making and not how much you are documenting what we're making. I had a session with someone a few weeks ago, and the business that she had was really viable. I'm seeing a project that was going to work. But maybe because she thought that she was putting 150K into the business and was making about 400, 500,000 on that 150K surely in a few weeks. And I'm like, yes, this is a viable thing. She had no data at all. She had not had a place to keep how cash flow was going in or out of the business. And I knew that when there was going to be crisis in that particular business, she would not know where the crisis came from because no data had been kept at all. And that's one of the things that happens because she's focusing on the fact that she's making money than she's focusing on keeping records of everything that is happening. And that's a big deal because we don't focus on data as much in this place. Yeah.
Because recently, we have an incubator here, yeah. We recently had a quote here, and we're talking with someone. I was around during the interview process, and we're talking with someone about our business, our startup, and she was talking about her data. I was actually pretty shocked because it wasn't a particularly big business like that, but this person had knew everything that was going on to the, like, now let's talk financial to the last naira. I'm like, how are you? She just started. She started like I think 6 months ago, but she had everything documented. Like, but the ones that she not try. Oh, hold on, let me just get it for me. And like she brought a book, she brought a phone, and she was going through it. And she was like, yeah, this is. That was like one of the things that actually made us accept her into the incubation program because we're like, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
She's not just freestyling like, oh, I want to make money like most people do. Like, it's
So
just
she knows where to pump money to next that
exactly.
works more. Because in a business, a lot of things are going on, but a few things are making money. And data helps you to be able to figure out where the loopholes are, and especially also figuring out when you want to hire. So I want to hire new people, and I know that this place makes this is more effective, more productive. I think I need more hands here, more skills. Because if you are leading something, you want to be like Busite Kwamba said one time, that you want to be the least competent person. So you want to employ the more competent person to handle the more productive work than the less productive work, rather than just hiring because we want to hire.
Okay, we'll still move to the talents really. But now let's flip it. Yeah. You hit a jackpot or you won this really massive grant as a founder, and I'm talking hundreds of millions. And what's the first thing you would do?
I believe that the first thing I need to do is to pull out all the data that I've had for a long time and figure out where I need to pump more resources into, or more money, obviously, because I just made a lot of money. Where I need to pump more money into, which can also be in the people that are there. It doesn't have to necessarily be that I have to invest in something new, right? It can be in trying to make the business a lot more fluid than it used to be before, because I want to adapt something that works into what I'm already building to make it more efficient. So I think the first thing I want to go through is the data that I have to figure out what's the most productive part of what I'm doing, to put more resources into that. That's going to be the first thing I think I would do.
I think that's new because when a lot of founders kind of get like this big, okay, don't let me speak for a lot of founders, but a couple of them out there when they don't particularly take care of their staff, and eventually they realize that their energy is going down. Like maybe when they came in, they were like, "Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm capable of doing this." Even you are like, "Oh, yeah, I brought the best person on board," but then you realize that as time goes on, their morale, maybe they realize that, oh, they are generating a lot of money, but they are not particularly rewarded for what they are doing. So yeah. I think taking care of your staff is more important. Now moving on to talents. It's like talents, time. These two are like really limited because we're talking about time earlier and we're like best thing is to have like 1,000 hours a day for it to be wealthy. Let's talk about the two most important parts of or the two most limited parts of resources, time and people. How would you say this should be managed to maximize productivity? How do we say people should manage their time? Maybe like you yourself or the people under you, the people, your team members, people working for you. And also like how would you also manage the people themselves? to maximize productivity.
I like the fact that you started with the person before the people, because it's important to be a steward of what I own before we become a steward of what we own, right? I learned from Pulesh to view yourself as an organization first. It helps your mindset, especially when you start to manage people. So for me personally, how would I be able to manage? I think time management, people talk about prioritizing as much. I I think we need to view time in a more larger scope than the way we do, which is sometimes figuring out to do lists, figuring out how many things can I do as much as possible today. And rather, if you calculate, we have a lot more time in a week than we have in a day. In a day, we think we have 24 hours. And then out of that 24 hours, we have like 8 actually, because that's you have the rest of that 24 is for cruise and sleep. So it's just 8. But if you calculate that based on a week, it helps you to be able to do urgent and important things, or important things that are not urgent, and also um move some tasks into other days, and it's not procrastination when you view time from a weekly standpoint than it is viewed from a daily standpoint. I learned that from a book. I think it's 168 hours. That's the first place that I read that. And I also learned that from Stephen R. Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that when you view time more weekly than daily, it makes you believe, because that rush when you have a to-do list, I want to cover this number of things at a particular time, you might not be as effective as possible. But if you view it on a larger scale, it helps you to be able to put assign tasks in different places, and also move tasks, and it's not procrastination, because thinking about yourself and your mental health is also part of managing your time. Because if you do too much in the aim to finish without being productive, or without being effective, you will not be productive. So that's a place to start from what I own before becoming what we own, because you can use people too if you don't view them in that same way. Because you are trying to ensure that they make sure that they do everything that they have to do, than also ensuring that their well-being is taken care of. And people will not be able to indefinitely work for someone that is toxic after a while. You'll be on Twitter very soon, Instagram will carry you. Yeah, and that's I think that's the part where you're managing the people and their time at the same time. So tools can also help to do that. Calendars are very great, like Google Calendar. You can view Google Calendar weekly, not just daily. I used to do that before 2017, 2018. I view Google Calendar daily. So I just do this. It's like I wake up in the day and a lot of things are buzzing. 8 to 9, 9 to 10. And within that 9 and 10, you know that you will do something else, but you wrote 9 to 10 and then 10 to 11. But that if you view it weekly, you know how to rearrange time. You know how to rearrange tasks rather, in such a way that you are more effective, you are more productive like that.
Mm. Okay, I think that time management part, for me, I'm kind of just learning to, should I say, manage my time. There was a point in my life where I knew that was really good. Then I think I relaxed. Then now it's like I'm relearning. I don't know if that makes sense. But now I'm not relearning in a space of um I've left the other parts that I was. That was when I was probably like a student. And now I'm growing. I don't know if that makes sense. But yeah, it's like I'm trying to restructure my time, restructure my schedule around something else. But now that you said that, what looking at time from perspective of weeks, I think it makes sense, because when you were talking about Google Calendar 8 to 9, I'm a victim of that. I'll know, like, I wake up, I'm like, I'll start with this from 8 to 9, then like 9 to 10, and like I'm like, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this. Maybe like wake up, I'll send these meals from 8 to 9. If from 9 to 10, I have to maybe like have a meeting. But then eventually I realized that there would always be that period, maybe like from like 12 to 3. And I just realized I'm not doing anything. I should know that. See, it's not like, um, I had to like realize that the best thing is to take breaks. I read it somewhere also. I can't. Is it Atomic Habits? I'm not so sure. But first was like the best thing is you work for a certain period of time, you take a short break, work for another period of time, take a short break, then maybe like after some time, like take a pretty long break before you now get back into work, because it takes a while for you to ease in. And also, yes, I was talking with someone about some things that I had to do, and it was like the best thing for me. I think he had actually like paid attention to me in particular. was I should recognize my turbo modes. It's like there are some periods that you know that you're like so good, like you are concentrating for like 3 hours straight up. You're concentrating for like 4 5 hours at a stretch. Sorry, then you turn off your phone, turn off your device, make sure there's no distractions. You'd realize that at some point you might even be able to do a week long work. So I think that the best thing might actually be realizing what works for you personally.
And then fixing your tasks within those periods that work for you. And that's why I said it is not procrastination to then move a task that you're supposed to do now or that you think you should do now to another turbo moment that you have tomorrow. Not procrastination, it just makes you more effective and you're more productive being there.
It's just like some people that do 9 to 5. Some people might actually be a bit more productive at night. And then maybe like they have to create these documents that needs their full concentration. But because if they were weighing it based on like the average mentality of a day,
Yeah.
they would force themselves to actually do it, and then they realize that
Wasn't good enough. But if I wake up in the night to carry this stuff, it would have been really good.
right.
And that's not procrastination. So I like to view time per week. I think it works better for me. It helps me to be able to push things while not procrastinating. Although, very important to also put the caveat that people that procrastinate have to solve the procrastination issue first before thinking about time management. Because regardless of what you do, even if you have a to-do list, you can have something to do between 9 and 11 and sleep. It's all on you. But yeah, it's like so I had a conversation like this before, and I always say procrastination is something to deal with before delving into time management and using tools to manage your time, because it can be fancy to put something on Notion or to put something on a Google Calendar or a Google Sheet or an alarm, and it's still you are still not working based on it. So procrastination is solved first. Then you can make use of any of these systems that are around you to manage time personally, and it's also something that you can hand over to teams that you work with.
Okay. Um. Okay. You talked about tools, yeah. Now, I'm a founder. Let's assume I'm a founder. I own a business, and I don't particularly have so much resources financially, um, talent wise, time wise, but and now I can't afford these code developers and everything to probably help me build a system from scratch. What are some tools that you think that you would recommend for maybe like finance tracking, project management, time management, and all of that? Is there like any that you recommend that or you use personally?
So good. Before I get to the tools, I think for a founder that is in that kind of situation, I think what he needs to focus first on is hiring people that can multitask. I think that's like the first thing the person needs to focus on, because there are some people that can do different things at the same time and have the passion to do it. Maybe especially if a bit more money is involved, anyways. But yeah, I think that's the first thing to start with, because you want to invest in the productive side, and you also want to invest in someone that can do more things at the same time and doesn't think it's a stretch. That's first. And to talk about the tools that I've used personally, I use Notion. I think people try to pursue the fancy ones before focusing on the easier ones that can help them start up. So I would always suggest that people start using Google Sheets. For a long time, we're using Microsoft Excel in school and we didn't think it was anything useful. But Google Sheets can really be a major game changer. You can learn simple tools on that Google Sheet, like filtering or filter. You can learn a few formulas, some simple formulas that you can make use of. You can learn to use pivot tables on those sheets. Those help you to be able to put things in order. And then from there, you can graduate into using Notion Workspace. I like Notion Workspace because it helps with, especially when it comes to communication in teams, it helps with asynchronous communications where you want to keep something somewhere and come back in the next few months or few years and still find it there. Sometimes we use Slack or WhatsApp, but obviously, even if you ping something on WhatsApp right now, it's going to be either 7 days or 30 days, and what you have pinged has gone. But on Notion, it is very good for easy search. There are documents that I've prepared a year ago, 2 years ago, that you can still trace back on Notion, and I can share workspace environments with people. That's a good tool that I think people can use. Then I think one other one that people don't pay attention to is very simple. Everybody has it, but we don't use is Google Keep. Yeah, I think it was the first that I started using, and it can also be very cool with arranging finances. Just yeah, especially for something simple and personal. Before you now trying to move it to a table, and then you can start to use Google Sheet. But Google Keep is a good one too. It's a simple tool that people can start to use, right? Then I've used a few others like Workfolio, but I've not used it in a long time. But yeah, I would recommend Notion. I would recommend Google Sheets, Rest of Power 2, Google Calendars. People don't use it as much. You can use it and connect it with your mates, Google Meet. You can set calls on that. You can make it more colorful. Use red colors for zones that you know you need to have this color unless you're in trouble. Use it, like there are just ways you can engineer it in such a way that it looks beautiful to you. It helps you to be able to be productive, effective, and enjoy what you're doing. Because I love usefulness and excellence at the same time. Yeah.
I actually love that you mentioned these tools, mentioned because the fact that they are no code. Because during one of our I think our Twitter space, one of our speakers recently mentioned something along the lines of um a lot of startup founders, more especially the ones that are just coming up, they tend to waste a lot of their resources. I don't want to say waste, but divert a lot of their resources to certain things when they are alternatives. Like most of these that you mentioned, they are cheap. They are free, not even cheap, they are free. But because we are like, oh, this big company somewhere is doing it, I cannot be using an average when if you look at it, but very you realize that you're effective. Exactly. As long as the work gets done, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you very much regarding the tools. I also use Notion. Honestly, it's like my number one tools for.
How is it?
It's really nice. I'm not even going to lie because one of my favorite part about it is the fact that you can put things in like segments. So it's like you have like a database of several things. You could tag this one maybe like important, and you could have this one maybe like okay not so important, and then when you get to your Notion dashboard, the first thing you want to see is the important one so that you'd be able to know what you're focusing on. I think that's like one of my favorite things about Notion, and it has like several things you can build it however you want. So yeah, Notion is
It can get really intense. You can keep screenshots of activities you do and activities you want to come back
it.
to. There are different things that you can do on Notion if you get to just use the tool, enjoy the tool, and it is free. Like yeah, the free version. I think there's a paid version, but I think the free version, especially for a personal workspace, it is very free. It is very cool, and then you can then transition that into building teams around or including teams in what you do. I did that in a project that I did where I work recently. It was a project that I had to pitch, adapting Notion workspace into what we're doing presently.
So yeah, we're talking about tools and everything. I think they're really good. So now I'm going to say to every startup founder out there, make sure you utilize these no code tools. There are like so many out there. You have the yeah, even if it's like you don't want to start taking courses on YouTube or whatever to learn something new. We all know how to use Microsoft Google Calendar. We all know how to use Microsoft. Basically comes with our devices. So you just like check it out, open it, utilize it. Okay, Emmanuel, if you were to advise someone that is just starting up as a founder, what would you tell them?
I would say, like we talked about earlier, focus on keeping data as early as possible. It will help you to know what is more productive in your business. And like I said, in a business, many things are wrong. I run a clothing line, and I do different things in the clothing line, but I know what brings more money in the clothing line, right? And it's based on the data. You can't guess it. You might think it's bringing more money, but you can be bringing in money and be spending more in that same space. And data will help you to be able to figure out what's your strongest suits in whatever you're running, especially in this startup. Then I would also say that your management should be people centric. So the analogy that I would like to use is talking about comparing Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti. That some people will swear for me after I did this, but anyways, but the idea is people know that Guardiola is more tactic inclined, more about bringing out the results. But Carlo Ancelotti, people say doesn't have a tactic. His tactic is people. A static is I meet these people. How can I bring the best out of them? How can I ensure that they are a family? Or like I say, how can I ensure that I'm maintaining usefulness and excellence at the same time? That they enjoy the environment, but at the same time we're producing great results. So if you make it people centric, you would have the loyalty of the people that you are working with, and at the same time they would turn out results for you, rather than just making it about saying that they turn out results and having a bad name in the midst of trying to build something great. Yeah, a startup you just started, so yeah, you will need those people with time.
Sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a lot of scenarios. But I was talking to one of my friends recently. He also has his own business. He's a founder. And it was talking about someone that he once worked with, not for with. And it was at that point I was like the project failed. But if this person reaches out to him today and tell him that he has a business idea and he needs his help, he would give everything to get back on the team with him because he enjoyed working with him. The business failed, so there wasn't like much profit for them both, but it was like the relationship this person had with his team members were beyond just work.
Yeah.
He was really concerned about their welfare. He made sure he put them first. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people tend to overlook. Like, I pay you. Just do whatever it is that you want. Exactly. You must do what I tell you to do. I don't care, whatever. So yeah, I think so now just as I said, try to be people centric and try to keep as much data as you can. Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel, for joining us today. It was really, really wonderful. And that's it, guys, on today's episode of Buzzworthy. Thank you very much for joining us. And if you've watched to this extent and you still haven't liked, you haven't shared, and you haven't subscribed, come on now. So please don't forget to like, share, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Incubator Hive. Or if you would like to send us a message, send us a DM, you can always send us a mail at hello@thehiveincubator.com. And also if you'd like to follow our guest here, if you'd like to learn more about him, check him out at Areo Vital on Instagram and on Twitter, or Areo Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. We'd love to hear from you in the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and follow once again. And if you are watching from YouTube, make sure you subscribe. Thank you very much, brothers. Have a nice day. Bye.